It is time for Friday Night Meta, my friends. The latest and greatest decks and trends here for the past week. Thank you for tuning in, as always, for the weekly series here on the channel. And on top of that, this is the last one for July before we move into August. So let's dive deep and quick here because this always helps us set up nicely for the next season, as always. On top of that, it helps us stay on track of our game and on top of our game. Now, with that, if you got a question or comment throughout today's episode, let me know. I love to hear from you. Come swing by the Discord server. On top of that, down below, you can find the timestamps where I will break down all the formats and best of one and best of three for you. So feel free to click the spot that makes sense for you. All right, here's what we got going on in standard best of one. So mono white humans remains at the top. On top of that, well, really below it, we have Selesnya enchantments. This deck has improved. We'll talk about that here in a little bit in terms of its win rate. Additionally, here we do have a host of other things between our mono red decks and our mono black list. But we do also see mono blue tempo in there and domain. Now on the right, you can see it's heavily dominated by these top four right here. So making sure we pay attention to that is always crucial and certainly a crux of the meta. So usually one out of two decks you're going to run into that if you're not playing it. Now as we continue to scroll down, you can see some of these popularity trends. We do see mono red kind of falling off here towards the end. We also see that Selesnya. We do see a little bit more of a peak rise here in mono white, same with mid-range and same with tempo. Now obviously a lot of players in the Discord had talked about that, so you would have certainly seen it. Now with that, if you hadn't seen it while you're playing, here's again what we have in terms of that win rate. We do see that mono white humans continues to dominate. Now it's interesting, like I said, we did see Selesnya enchantments popping back up. Here it is right there. We do see everything else kind of falling off. Mono blue getting a little stronger and control getting a little stronger in terms of those win rates, while everything else kind of falls off. So that is standard best of one. Let's look at Mythic, see if there's anything different. A few things. You got mono black control actually taking the #1 spot here. And that's a pretty big change in terms of what we're seeing. It is pretty close. Then we have mid-range there as well. Azor's control here up at the top. That one and none of the 5-color domains. So very, very important there. A big shift in terms of a lot of things that we've seen. All right, let's move over to best of three. Best of three, mono black control is at the top, followed by mono red aggro, 5-color domain, Esper Legends, Dimir midrange, Esper control, Azor's control, and Orzhov midrange. Here on the right, definitely dominated again by the top four. Here you can see that popularity over time. We do see that Esper control getting more popular while some of the other stuff falling off. That mono black control doing very good there. Domain kind of going sideways, everything else similar. And then again, that mono black control doing very, very well here, particularly at this break here towards the end of June and into our July season. Something again to keep an eye on. And then everything else as it's kind of bouncing around. Now let's go ahead and see if Mythic holds different answers for us, and it does. We actually have Dimmer midrange at the top, followed by mono black control, domain, mono red aggro, Esper midrange, Azor's control, Esper control, and Orzhov midrange. Again, dominated really by those top three there, and there you have it. So that is standard format, best of one and best of three. Let's go ahead and check out Alchemy. So here in Alchemy, we have Grixis midrange at the top. We do have 5-color Reanimator, Rakdos midrange, mono red burn, black Nazgul, Dimmer midrange, mono black midrange, and Esper control. Here on the right, heavily dominated by Nazgul, Dimmer control, Grixis midrange, and Rakdos midrange, and the rest. Here you can see it really taking off in terms of that popularity, definitely over the last week or two. While everything else is kind of falling off, we do see that Dimmer control getting stronger in terms of play. Now here on the right, the big riser has been that 5-color Reanimator. You can see it steadily increasing its win rate. But here also we do have a few things popping around between that Grixis midrange, mono red burn, Dimmer control, lots of movement, which is always nice to see. Now again, this is Alchemy best of one. Let's take a look at Mythic. Mythic is really Grixis midrange and Rakdos midrange, and here we'll call it a day. Let's move over to best of three Hooray. All right, so here's what we got going on best of three. We do have Jund Legends, Grixis midrange, Rakdos midrange. Again, the big one being the Lord of the Rings. I should have called that out for Alchemy best of one. Now, on top of that, let's go into Mythic. Mythic here, we do have Grixis midrange being the key one there for everyone to beat and keep an eye on as always. All right, we're going to move over to Historic now for today. Here's what we got going on in Historic. Again, similar as we have other releases here with Anthology and Lord of the Rings. So here's what you can see. Izzet Wizards at the top, Rakdos Ring, Selesnya Scroll Twin, Dimmer Dredge, Sultai Dredge, Mono Green Elves, Abzan Sacrifice, and no color Paradox Storm. Very nice. On the right, you can see what the popularity looks like, heavily dominated by the top two there. Then you really got a nice kind of core three and then another bottom three there in terms of what's played. Now we can see this popularity here. Anthology making a big difference. Again, that Paradox Storm list becoming meta. We see Abzan Sacrifice doing well and falling off. Izzet Wizards maintaining and still being strong. Everything else kind of coming up. So lots of movement there in the meta. We'll continue to watch here as things unfold. Let's check out Mythic. Mythic, we do have Squirrel Twin at the top, Rakdos Ring, Izzet Wizards, Dimmer Dredge, Rakdos Midrange, and Paradox Storm. On the right, again, you can see what the heavy play is, and that is where we're at. So that is Historic best of one. Let's check out best of three here. Here's what we got going on in best of three. Golgari Yawgmoth. Awesome. Love it. As always, Abzan Sacrifice, Rakdos midrange, Dimmer Control, Izzet Wizards, Jund midrange, Teamer Gates, Naya Domain Zoo. As always, it's a zoo. And here on the right, we do got a lot of percent played. So pretty heavy representation here in the meta, which is always important. Again, Anthology, we see that massive drop in Rakdos midrange, but we do see Rakdos midrange climbing back. A host of other things like Gates popping in and a bunch of other stuff. Golgari Yawgmoth, like I said, becoming a thing. Abzan Sacrifice doing very well, Rakdos midrange doing well, but still some disparity in terms of those win rates and things that we'll pay attention to as the meta continues to get a little bit more defined. Let's check out Mythic. Mythic, it is all Rakdos midrange. Rakdos midrange. All right, so that is Historic. So let's go ahead and we'll move over to Explorer best of one. Here's what we got going on in Explorer. Again, Anthology hits this as well. We got some trends here with mono white humans. Selesnya Angels being very popular. Rakdos Sacrifice, Abzan Greasefang, that's Selesnya Angels. Mono Green Devotion, Teamer Creativity, Rakdos Midrange, and 5 color fires. Very nice. So then on top of that here, you can see the popularity heavily dominated by those top 4. Really dominated by that top 2. And again, like I said, you can see that popularity just climbing. We do see Teamer Creativity dropping. Mono Green Devotion getting a little bit stronger. Abzan Greasefang becoming more played. Rakdos Sacrifice, same thing. But here you see mono white humans continue to do very, very well post Anthology. And then some of the other stuff arcing and some of the other things going on the inverse arc there in terms of that win rate. Let's go ahead and check out Mythic. Here's what's going on in Mythic. Some movement. We do see Boros Convoke in here, Azor's Control in here as well. Boros Heroic. We do have mono white humans, Rakdos midrange, mono green devotion. On the right, heavily played and dominated by the top 4, 5-ish. So really a dichotomy here in terms of what's happening, and that is key. All right, we'll back all the way out. Look at best of 3 here. Best of 3, we have Azorus Lotus Field, mono white humans, Rakdos Sacrifice, Rakdos midrange, 5 color fires, Abzan Greasefang, mono green devotion, and Teamer Creativity. Now on the right, pretty close here, really up to 5. And then you got your rest. So that's kind of how we want to think about that. And again, we do see Explore Anthology. Here we see a lot of movement, again, between played popularity. Teamer and Azorus falling off. We see the rise of Mono Green Devotion again and Rakdos Sacrifice. Again, a lot of stuff pre this kind of release always kind of starts to snap back, which is what we're seeing. Win rate over time, pretty heavy Rakdos Sacrifice, but we do see this nice jump here in mono white humans really maintaining. And then again, same with Azorus Lotus Field. as well. Everything else kind of going sideways or going down a little bit. Let's keep an eye on. All right, we'll look at Mythic here. Mythic's a little bit different landscape. We do have mono white humans, Rakdos midrange, Azora spirits in here, the mono green devotion, Abzan Greasefang, sacrifice, creativity, and fire eyes. Again, on the right, probably more so on the top three, we do see some consensus here in terms of popularity and played. Now, when it comes to is it creativity, all the way down to 5-color fires. And that is what we have. We do see that win rates being more consolidated now, which is typical post set release, and takes a little bit of time for it to get baked out. All right, so that concludes all of our best of 1 and best of 3 sets. Let's go ahead and see what's happening in historic Brawl. So Ragavan is at the top. It's been a while, I believe, so we'll take a look at that trending. We got a Trox up there, Roscoe. These three have heavily dominated. Tali's been in there. Xenagos is back in here. Very nice. Emoti, Saran, and Smeagol. And then here on the right, again, you can see a lot of that played. Popularity over time. We do see that Itali, again, getting more popular. We do see a Troxa getting more popular. In terms of what we're seeing, like I said, Ragavan taking over. We had a Troxa really is that top one there for a while, but Ragavan squeaking it out here over the last few days, and then really close on Emoti and Itali as well. Lots of back and forth on some of the other stuff, similar for Suran and Troxa, and things for us to keep an eye on. Ooh, that is a mouthful for today's episode. I just want to say thank you, as always, for tuning in for our weekly series here, Friday Night Meta. Appreciate your support. Thank you for the likes and the subs as we grow this amazing community. Thank you to all the members, as always, much appreciated. Other great ways to stay connected and support the channel down below. With that, questions, comments, let me know. Come swing by the Discord server and say hello. We have a ton of great Magic content for you. We're creating more all the time and headed your way. But in the meantime, you can check it out here on the channel and stay tuned for more and our weekly series as always. With that, I appreciate it. We'll see you soon. Until next time, Mythras out of here. Best of luck as we head into August. Oh my gosh. All right, take care.